Hello friends and welcome back to my channel. My name is Caitlin from Florals.com and welcome back to 6x6 Fix, a collaboration between me and Crafty Meggy with a focused effort to use our 6x6 paper pads. So I have a few paper pads picked out today, but I mainly use this one from Simple Stories, and I've actually used this on Disney layouts before. If you guys didn't see the pictures, I know this is sped up pretty quick, but it's a lot of lollygagging, so I didn't want to keep you waiting. But I'm scrapbooking some photos from our Disney cruise, and these will go into the Disney album. That's part of my goal for this year to complete. And I start by taking this scalloped pattern that sort of reminds me of waves and trimming them down. Now, they don't line up perfectly at the 6-inch mark, so that doesn't work very well. But I am going to use this Fancy Pants Making Waves collection patterned paper with anchors to really just solidify the nautical theme here. So since these don't line up well at the 6-inch mark, I decided to overlap them a bit so they do. And these two photos, again, are from the Disney's Private Island Castaway Cay, and we went there on a cruise and really enjoyed it. And this is when we were heading back to the boat. So they have this photo op with the cruise ship in the background and the sign above you, and that's with me and my boyfriend, and the other one's me and my dad, just in front of the ship before we boarded and while we were waiting. So I have a bunch of scraps in the Simple Stories collection that are the exact same size, and that is from a different layout I created where I needed different size strips. So I'm kind of using those as my inspiration for this page. And now during this series, I'm going to try really hard to just use 6x6 papers on my pages besides the background paper. But you can do so many different things with 6x6 paper pads, and this is kind of a way to build up your layers using those scraps and those pieces you have that are sitting around in your paper pads. So I pull out a wood grain to map my left photo on, and then I use this polka dot to map my right photo on. Nothing too crazy here yet. I do have to figure out what I want to do with those background pieces because obviously they're not all going to fit the way they are. Some of them are going to have to be trimmed. So what I decided to do is actually butt these two things together. So my scallops and the regular pattern papers will be stacked. Originally, I thought they might work with a title in between them, but I was looking through my alphabets and wasn't inspired by any letters tall enough to fill in that space. Then I bring in my wonderful blue distress ink. Chip Sapphire is one of my favorites, and I like that it's an almost navy, but it's like a brighter navy. And I go through the tedious process of inking up this scalloped piece. Again, I want that to look kind of flawless. You can obviously see the divot once I put it all together, but you know, a little chop in half there, but that's okay. I actually stopped this layout and came back to it after my battery died. I took a break for dinner, and so at this point I've thought about it a little bit more. I'm convinced about putting these together at this point, and I'm just going to attach them. Now, making sure these are lined up is kind of important because it'll determine how long your strip will end up being. So mine is about, I would say, just under 11 inches. Well, probably closer to 10 based on these estimates. But I'm going to glue that down so that I can start building the rest of my layout. And what's nice about these block style layouts, I wouldn't say this is color blocking, but it is pretty close. And I'm going to ink the edges, 3 of the edges, because I don't need to see that bottom edge. I know my photos are going to cover it. And I think that by inking the edges, I get the definition that I always wanted on this page. And here I thought I centered that poor ampersand paper. But guys, if you look, it's by far not centered. But I will try to fix that once I start trimming down these papers. So I'm going to trim down, I believe it's like 1/4 and 1/8, just so I can make them all the same size. And originally I thought these were going to span all the way across the 12 by 12, but then I get the idea to trim them down further to ensure that I get this sort of highlighted block technique, which you'll see in a bit once I start ripping things up. So I end up moving this in all the way, and then I decide, well, if I move the camera in all the way, then I know they'll be the exact same size because the red's going to cover both of them, which is kind of the case, but also kind of not. But if you find you're working with a collection that has very similar colors, a lot of these are the exact same multicolors, definitely pull out your inks and start inking. It will help you define the edges and give you that relief you need and that contrast you need. Now, I think this layout definitely could have benefited from maybe a cardstock trim around this main area where I stacked my pattern papers, but I still enjoy how it came out, and I'm going to actually put my photos on some foam. Even though my layers are inked, I think they could just use a little bit more definition and separation from those background papers. And when it comes to fun foam, I always add extra adhesive because I'm paranoid that it will come off. And once those are in place, I add this little tab, which is from Simple Stories, the Say Cheese collections, and it really adds that little bit of a Disney touch without too much. And that's kind of what I'm going for in this album at this point, is Disney touches, not so much Disney themed. And I know a lot of you guys ask that when I do my Disney layouts, how do I decide what to do? And it's just layout by layout. My layouts don't coordinate usually from page to page unless I plan a double page layout, but here I pull out some Color Cast Designs wood veneer, and what I really like about these is they help bring in that wood grain that I put behind my photo, and that's also in the photo because we have the dock, we have, you know, the banner above us in the left-hand photo, and then I also have these Paper House Studio stickers that I adore and that I believe Sarah Scrap sent to me one time when I won a prize from a challenge that I did, but I really love them. This one says beach and then has an arrow to the right, which theoretically would be the correct direction now that I think about it, because the boat was facing. Anyway, I just thought it was funny to put it in the exact same spot where it would have been if there were a beach sign there. And it's actually a really beautiful island, and I know I've talked about it before, but it is insane how crazy the Disney touches can be. Even in a remote island in the Bahamas, you would be wowed. But here's where I start working on my title. So I have a lot of colors on this page, and I didn't want a super dramatic title. I wanted something simple. So I pull out my Simple Stories. Guys, this is just like a Simple Stories layout, isn't it? I didn't really realize until now, but I have these flat lay alphas from the Brights collection, which is some of my favorites, and I pull out gray for the words to the, and for back and boat, I end up just using the red and the yellow again to give more pop. And I agree that they're hard to read on camera, but it's much easier in person. I think that's something to take with a grain of salt as well. Sometimes when you see things online, they're a bit different than in person. But this layout's pretty simple, but I love that I used those large pieces of those 6x6 pieces to really just create the page. It didn't need any 12x12s at all. And you guys can surely do this too. I'd love if you scrap lifted this or any one of mine or Meggy's videos, so definitely check out hers, link down below. But here are the close-ups. Let me know if you have any questions. I hope you guys enjoyed and look forward to seeing more of the 6x6 Fix series. I'll have the playlist linked down below in case you guys are interested. And I will see you guys again very, very soon. Thanks for watching, guys. Bye!